Nobody voted for Elon Musk, and yet now the entire Republican Party is obeying his every command.
There you see, people are asking very fair questions about why someone who is unelected and has never held any government job seems to be calling the shots for the government, at least when Republicans and Donald Trump are in charge. This raises questions that are both foundational and possibly petty. On the foundational importance side, it's, do we have a democracy or some kind of emerging oligarchy where the richest man in the world publicly, blatantly says he's using his money to buy things? Speech platforms like Twitter, pieces of the U.S. Congress, maybe part of the Trump administration? And how long will that stand? Is that something people accept? On the petty side, it's whether Donald Trump can live being overshadowed by someone in what is supposed to be his honeymoon period and someone who's not even getting things done. We're joined by Obama campaign veteran and friend of the beat, Che Komanduri. Che, we have the benefit of joining tonight with this sordid, little, ineffectual, failed battle over. It could have ended by 6, could have ended by 8, could have ended later this weekend. But that allows you to give us sort of your narrative summary of why Elon Musk failed in his main request this week. Does he come out of this less powerful? Is he overshadowing Trump? What do you make of it?
Well, I think he comes out of this exposed. He comes out of this exposed as somebody who does not understand government and who really thinks this was going to be so easy, and it turns out it's going to be very hard. I mean, you know, in sports, there's a term called the Steinbrenner syndrome. It happens when an owner of a team kind of meddles unnecessarily in the team's affairs. You know, you saw this with George Steinbrenner. You see this with Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys. Detroit columnist Mitch Albom many years ago said the reason for this is that these owners think sports is so easy. I mean, George Steinbrenner made millions of dollars in business. You know, ordering around a bunch of jocks, that's easy. Anybody could do it. He certainly felt he should be able to do it. And I think you're seeing the same thing with Elon Musk. I mean, after all, his net worth is well beyond all these members of Congress. It might actually be higher than all the members of Congress combined. You know, and so ordering them around and having them do what he bids them to do should have been very easy. It turned out to be extremely hard. This turned out to be a total fiasco. And we're going to have more fiascos to come because Trump 2.0 is going to be Musk 1.0.
Wow. Really thoughtfully put. I know you mentioned that this reminded you of something from the great show, The Simpsons. Let's take a look at Monty Burns.
Ahoy, hoy, lowly mortals. In addition to working for me, you may now praise me as your almighty.
Amen, sir.
Why did you call in this scene? Why did this remind you of this week?
Well, because it's a case where the GOP beheld their new god, Musk, and the wax edifice melted away immediately. It took no time whatsoever for that to occur. You know, there was a lot of reasons for them to sort of take their orders from Musk. I mean, unlike Trump, Trump is a 78-year-old lame duck. Musk is going to be around for a very long time, it seems. He said he's going to do primary challenges against Republicans who did not obey his orders. It is almost certain that in 2028, he will be funding a Republican nominee of his choosing again in that primary contest. So his power is going to continue on for many more years. So that is why you're seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene and Mike Johnson and so many others be so deferential to him. The problem is he doesn't understand what he's doing. He simply does not understand politics. You know, it's reminded me a lot also of Hans Gruber in Die Hard being foiled by like this guy wandering around the vents of a building. You know, he's like this master criminal, and here's this guy with basically no like equipment or anything at all, who is basically turning the whole plan awry. That is basically going to happen repeatedly over the course of these 4 years. And we should remember that Trump came into his first term thinking it was going to be so easy. Guess what? The pandemic hit, his ratings collapsed, and he lost his re-election. That is exactly what happened. That kind of fiasco can happen again, unfortunately.
This holiday season, discover the story behind the scar.
We will build a new kingdom. It's our kingdom, brother.
Mufasa the Lion King is filled with adventure and action.
This was a bad idea!
Experience the film that is hilarious and entertaining.
Run along, kitty cat! Oh, this is so embarrassing!
It's the perfect family Christmas movie that you will absolutely love.
Love? That sounds gross and not something like I constantly think about and really want.
Disney's Mufasa the Lion King. Rated PG. Now playing only in theaters.
Rinsing is a mess? Switch to Garnier Micellar Cleansing Water. Micelles work like a magnet to gently remove makeup without rinsing. Leave skin cleansed, feeling soothed and hydrated for 12 hours. Garnier Micellar Cleansing Water by Garnier, naturally.
Sir, oh, like a coffin. Black, like my soul.
Cashmere is so soft, it can even give Scrooge a soft side.
The creator economy, to me, is fascinating because it's not only part of the kind of advertising infrastructure now where they're promoting brands, they're actually generating products and selling products for third parties and for themselves. You know, today we announced that Visa will treat creators as small businesses within our network. They get all the benefits, all the tools of small businesses, the things that allow them to remove friction from paying and getting paid. We're giving them access to that, and we're treating them as all other small businesses. I think this idea of cultural brands and creators being cultural brands is the future. And I think it's been here for a while. We're just now tapping into it in a way that, and understanding it in a way that we can leverage it, but also help them become better at transacting.
MSNBC Premium gives you early access and ad-free listening to Rachel Maddow's chart-topping series, MSNBC Original Podcasts, exclusive bonus content, and all of your favorite MSNBC shows now ad-free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
Government activity that follows Trump's vows to take revenge on his perceived foes. There are people, you may have heard some of them, who said this was campaign rhetoric, or you can't always believe Trump, or wait and see. Well, tonight I can tell you the time for that kind of talk and waiting is over. House Republicans are using their government power to go after a conservative official who investigated the January 6th insurrection. Before I get to what they're doing, I want to begin with the facts. Imagine that. Fact number one. All members of Congress, regardless of party, have wide legal protection from prosecution for the work they do inside Congress, for what they say on the House floor or how they carry out their duties on a committee. It is a very high bar for the government in a different branch to prosecute a lawmaker for that kind of work, for those activities, unless you really find something like evidence, say, of bribery to sell government activity. We have seen members of both parties get in that kind of trouble. It relates to their government work, but it is a high bar. Fact number two, there is no such public evidence right now against any of the members of the January 6th committee. Fact number three, Congresswoman Liz Cheney spent her career as a Republican. Most people who follow politics are aware of that. She even rose to the GOP's leadership in the Trump era. She backed Donald Trump in 2020. But as you may have heard, he's been vowing revenge against her over her actual work in Congress. What I just told you about, that's usually protected material, protected activity. Liz Cheney today, I can tell you, is saying that January 6th revealed Donald Trump to be a cruel and vindictive man, and that his Republican allies in Congress are now fabricating lies and, quote, defamatory allegations in an attempt to cover up what Trump did. Now, that reference to defamation suggests one way that Cheney could potentially push back against attacks on her if she views them as defamatory and wants to go to civil courts to get justice for that. Now, to why we're talking about this right now. Tonight, Liz Cheney is responding to efforts to go after her in this period before Trump even takes office as House Republicans. Her former colleagues demand that she be criminally investigated by the FBI for her work, which they know all about. It's work they also do. It's work she did in Congress alongside them, whether they disagree on certain matters. The congressional work, a co-equal branch of government, of investigating the attack on their workplace, the Capitol, on January 6th, when Trump fans turned it into a crime scene. And in the hours after those now convicted attackers, some of them seditionists, were finally removed and ejected, remember, many top Republicans flatly condemned that violence.
We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats.
Chaos, anarchy. The violence today was wrong and un-American.
All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
Those are just some of the Republicans who were condemning the attack that night. Again, they were condemning the thing that Donald Trump helped foment and that Liz Cheney and others later investigated inside of Congress. They were speaking then, though, when the threat and their fear was fresh. Now, many of those Republican voices are not only joining these plots to minimize the attack, to will it to be something different than it was. Some are accepting Donald Trump's vows, public stated plans to pardon the very convicts who attacked the Capitol, what you just heard them condemn, who attacked the police, who made, in a very personal, real way, their workplace, their lives, their jobs, even potentially their families who were visiting that day, all more dangerous. And some Republicans going further, pushing new calls to investigate Cheney. Trump's political vendetta is now being, as I mentioned, pursued by House Republicans. They are laying the groundwork. It is precisely the kind of, quote, lawfare that Republicans have claimed to be against. They use that word, lawfare, as a reference to what they view as politically targeted prosecutions. And that is quite clearly, notwithstanding the potential hypocrisy, what some of them are now arguing for against Liz Cheney because Donald Trump is mad at her. I don't mean to minimize the seriousness of this, but that's kind of what it boils down to, except he wants people to abuse power on his behalf next year. So Republicans, this is the update I mentioned at the top of the hour. I gave you the context and the facts for why it's hard to just go after lawmakers this way under law, but Republicans are calling for an FBI investigation. They've issued a new report, one member, Loudermilk, going as far as to claim the committee's work with witnesses was some kind of possible federal crime. The language is that federal laws were, quote, likely broken by Liz Cheney.